Welcome to the channel. Today we are going to talk about one of the most successful Western hunting cartridges and one of my favorites. It's the 7mm Remington Magnum. In the early 60s, Remington was looking for a solution for Western hunters so that they would have something both flat and accurate, but also something that gave them a little bit more velocity at range so that they could deliver more energy on big game animals. So what they did is they took the 375 H&H Magnum, they edited the case, they necked it down so that they could use that 7mm bullet. One thing of note from the SAMMI specs of the 7 Rem Mag is the twist rate. It was originally designed with a 1 9.5 inch twist, which for the time was a fine twist rate. It was designed for those 140 up to the 170 grain bullets, depending on the bullet shape and style. It had a 24-inch barrel. Your collective overall length for the cartridge was 3.29 inches, and its max pressure was set at 63,000 psi. So there's definitely some room for improvement compared to the modern 7mm Magnums, where the twist rate is a little slow and that pressure is a little low compared to what we see now in 7mm Magnums. So like we just said, with the twist rates, we're looking at some of the lighter end of the bullets. So we have some of the more common ammos that you'll find. 140 grain, this brand just happens to be Remington Corlocks. 150 grain, Winchester Super X, and then the 162 ELDX. What we see is with factory ammo, this is pretty much what you're going to get. It's going to be just under 3,000 feet per second and up to around 3,200 feet per second. So the brands can vary some, but this is pretty typical of what we're going to see. Following that idea of having the 140 to 150 grain bullets for the 7 Mag, we have some 140 grain Nosler ballistics, some 120 grain Nosler ballistics, and the 150 grain ELDX. Now, these might not be the perfect hunting bullets, but they're what I grew up using, and they're kind of what I know will shoot well out of a 7 Mag. So for hand loading, we'll start with these because they are within what is considered the normal and traditional grain weights for the 7 Mag. Given the recent developments that have been made in the 7mm caliber, we can take a look at some high BC options that we have. There is the 170 grain Hammer Hunter, 180 and 195 grain Burgers, and there off to the left, there is 180 grain ELDM by Hornady. Now, most 7 Mags won't have the proper twist rate to stabilize these bullets at sea level. The 195 does require a 1 in 9 twist, so it is doable with your typical 7 Mag. However, those other high BC options aren't going to necessarily stabilize in most rifles at sea level. However, with that being said, let's take a look at the rifle and see what we'll be working with.
Okay, let's take a look at the rifle that we'll be using for these tests. It is a Browning X-Bolt chambered in 7 Rem Mag. One advantage to the Browning that a few other companies are starting to get on board with is the barrel is actually a 1 8 inch twist. This means that not only will it stabilize the traditional 7mm Remington Magnum loads, but it will also accommodate those longer high BC bullets. Now, the other thing though is most 7 Rem Mags aren't going to be able to hold those long bullets in their magazine. What we have here is a load that is relatively close to SAMMI spec length, and it fits. But as we get into, for example, the 180 grain ELDM and the 195 grain Burger, we see that they both fit in the magazine as well.
So, given what we know about this rifle and the history of the 7 Rem Mag, which bullet do you guys think will be the best bullet for this 7 Rem Mag? Is it going to be one of the traditional 140, 150 grain weights? Or is it going to be 195 grain EOL 180 grain ELDM, or could it possibly be the 170 grain Hammer Hunter? Give us a like and a follow, and leave a comment which bullet you think will perform best in this 7mm Remington Magnum.